part 2 of Numbers. And yeah, I have a problem doing this all the time. Okay. I'm going to start off at verse 20 here, 13:20. It says get. It needs to be the word buy. Okay. It just is more truthful. They weren't going around stealing. That just would not have been done. They were traveling through the town, so it was quite common to buy from the market. So let's have the real truthful word put in here. And it's not just fruit, but for the produce from the land. Okay. From time to time. They went up and spied the land, and from here, it has to go as far as they have this here word here. You can't trust wherever these locations are. So what I know later our creator is going to describe, it has to be Galilee, the lake. And what I showed you here in the last time is their lands. And our creator is going to change over time. It's changed from here because this is when he promised Abraham, you're going to take Canaan. But the problem happened was, let me get here, and let's see, where's one that really has all of it here? Oops, yep, okay, here. Here is the land that's going to be described, not right here, right now. This is not, Philistines aren't going to be here. They're going to break off later to become Philistines. But it's going to be this all the way up to Galilee. Now, it's going to be a little bit farther, but this is the description of what our creator is saying at this time, this area here. So just to let you know that when we go to look at what actually they ended up doing was going above it. And it's going to be, that's why I have the word high mount. That is going to be in the text, or has to be put into the text later, but it's going to be that they're going to go beyond Galilee, okay? But for right now, is I can't put that into the text. It's just not here. So I have to work with the text, and we'll find that this is the text. This needs to be that far. As far as, should I put the word Lebanon here? That's possible. That's very possible. So I might be changing that word, but that would be as far as Lebanon. But there's no text at this time stating what Lebanon is. So anyways, that I don't think the word Lebanon even comes to play for until David's time, or yeah, which yeah, because there's going to be 300 years of text when I show you the order of what's going on. There's going to be 300 years, 2 to 300 years is missing. In fact, well, let me get on with this. Now, these two verses right here, are coming from right here. They read better when I put them up there than they do down here. So for the convenience of reading quicker and easier and understanding what's going on, when they returned, they were gone for 20 days, and when they returned, they returned and they were gone for 20. It's just a thing with me of trying to be perfect in the text. So I moved those verses around. Moses is their leader, so he's summoned. He didn't call them, he summons them. And the congregation wouldn't, that's talking about all of them. That isn't all of them he needs to call. He's calling the commanders. Above, we have them being picked out, and and they know that they're creating an army. So, um, because they're spying out, and he wants commanders to be able to be ready to listen to what the land is like. So when they go into battle, they can understand. Because what text is missing is that they most likely wrote down a lot of of the area of what was going on. This city's here, that city's there. Um, and the other thing it doesn't say is who was sent where. They didn't travel as a group of 12 all over the place. They were uh, told to go certain areas and be there for a while, and then all of them come back down, and after they were all done, it was 20 days. So some of them could have come back earlier, but they weren't told until everything was done. The text does not say that, but up here, I know that it makes more sense that they broke up and then they went and spied out the land. Because actually, when you see this, they're down here a little bit farther, and it's 120 miles through here. Okay, from here, well, up to Lebanon, which would be up here. So this is what they're going to do. They're going to go all this. So it's 120 plus miles that they're going to travel. So they're down here below here yet. Where's this spies here? They're way down here. So here's 120 miles plus another 60 miles. So to go search out this land and come back 20 days, that's very possible. I mean, they could have been riding on donkeys. So the thing here is it's very easy to travel 20 miles to 40 miles a day. Okay. So that's why I'm using 20 days, because they had 40 days. Okay. And I moved it to 20 days. All right. To me, in my mind, that is more correct. Now, and then when called them back together, they were to hear their words, brought back. I needed to say that they wanted to hear their words, because if they just showed them the fruit, that doesn't mean nothing, and they didn't really collect a lot of fruit. There wasn't a lot of fruit in the land. Okay, as far as I know, they're pomegranates. Um, Other than that, I don't think there's much fruits missing or mentioning in the text. Now, I know there's some today, but I'm just thinking what's in the text. Okay, so added the word all. Now, I'm adding the word springs here because when they're talking to them, at that time there was a lot of springs that were overs to when the story starts going there, even a couple hundred years from now, like 400 years from now, the text has a lot of springs there. Until the population started getting larger and larger, did the aquifer actually not push out the water, that the water started receding, so, these springs. So at this time, I wanted to make sure that it was known that there was a lot of springs. So it was a plentiful land because it was so well watered. Okay. Now you got to understand the grain fields. Grain needs a lot of water. I mean, wheat fields need a lot of water to grow. And you got to understand, wheat, you can actually harvest 3 times in 1 year. Okay, the first one starts, I think, in April, and it takes only like 40 days before you can harvest it. It's already made wheat and it's starting to dry out again. Replant it and it keeps growing. Replant it and it can grow again. And then it's not worth growing. You can't do any more harvesting but 3 times. So you have to understand that these springs makes it plentiful. Um, just saying that there's reasons why I'm using the word spring other than just saying uh, putting the word in and wanting it by my own truth. Look, I know this text inside and out, and you'll find that out if you listen to me at all. And why don't you go and watch some of my ones on going through every verse of Jesus, the 4 books, okay? Because I'll teach you what the word gospel is, and it's Jesus taught his gospel. So there can't be a gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. That is just another lie. Now here the word however. Now here's where I just want to show you that sometimes, because I didn't do that in the last text. So let me see, 13:28. Okay, and let's see. Nevertheless, yeah, first word. Okay, that helps. Now, what I'm doing, I better show you. Now, here you can see the word nevertheless, and I use the word however, and you can see the word however is used twice. Okay. Now, I'm showing you this, but the object is just like I'm going to show you the word larger. Where is this? That's 28 as well. Very large. So if I click on the word large, is the word big used here? Bigger once, okay? But using it as the word elders. And see, this is what I mean. When you see the corruption of the text, you cannot absolutely tell me that every word in the Bible is actually what is being said in the manuscripts. Okay? I don't care. I mean, the word marvelous, large is marvelous, oldest, older. Anyways, enough of that. But this is why I use the word bigger here and the word however there. And they are stronger because they are bigger and they have weapons. You have to understand the Hebrews don't have swords at this time. They were slaves. They can't have swords, so they didn't have swords. When they left, they were gathering bronze and gold and silver. Most of that was used for making the tent for meeting with our Creator. So they didn't have that, but what they would have had would have been probably some 12-inch knives. That's what they would have probably cooked with. That's what they needed to butcher an animal with. So a knife they had. These people had weapons. And I'm putting weapons because they could have had larger than a sword. They could have had a spear made. They could have had these things. Now, when it gets down to the battle, I know I'm going to point that out again, that they had knives, but I couldn't add the word they made spears too. So when they did battle and they won, it was because they had both of those, the knives and some had spears. So, but I needed to add the word first here because that's where they first went into. To make sure we understand the order of where they were at, and then the hill countries are Canaan's, and from the sea to the Jordan, okay? So this text here is telling me some of the map of how I was able to create it. And I didn't use the word Jordan here. I used river because the fact here is there are all these, there's all these rivers, okay? But this is the river, okay? Jordan. So when they're talking from the sea to the river, they would have understood here. I didn't want to use the word Jordan at this time. Okay, so I want to use the word river. Now, will I change it back to the word Jordan? I don't know. Quieted the spies. See, they're talking about people from the congregation there, but Caleb quieted them down because um, here they're going to tell them, and then they're going to tell them how big they are. But down here, they're going to say they were too big and too strong for them to battle. So that verse is going to get switched around here. I think I'm moving this verse here uh, to here. And then Caleb's going to say this, and then he's going to power it. And then he's going to say, no, this was the one that I'm going to move up and the other one down, something like that. Because first, the text is going to, when you see it, it's going to have the spies complaining about, hey, now we went through there. Yeah, it's great land, but these people are big. I mean, they are bigger than us. And then now the commanders have to have something to complain about, and they grumbled against Moses. So the thing here is they would have had to know that, okay, well, this verse here, too big and too strong for us. So this has to be put in the correct order of what's being said. And I know one verse is, or one group is going to get moved around. And by now these are all these are pretty easy, so I don't need to go through and explain a lot of this. Here, whoops, my editing, Simon's. This, like I said, there's going to be so many different names, but each of them were from a tribe. Okay, now Caleb, because our Creator is going to promise him that the land he walked on, his descendants will live on. Well, that ends up being Simon's territory, okay? And that's why, of all the tribes, this is stuck in the middle, okay? Because our Creator promised him this land, okay? And Judah is around all around it, but they promised him this land. They were given land by how many people were in the tribe? Now, you notice how small Benjamin is, okay? I'm going to get to the reason why that group is so small. Now, in here, Caleb's going to rip his clothes, not tore them, but just rip them. And not the congregation, it was the commanders there, spied out the land. And it was better land. It wasn't just good land, it was better land. Because somewhere, okay, yeah, these guys were starting to complain. The commanders were complaining, well, it's better for us to go back to Egypt. Then Caleb steps in again, and he does this, and he's trying to tell them it's better land, not good land, but better than Egypt. That's why I have to use the word better here. When I'm putting the text together, I'm trying to use the knowledge from each of the words I'm using above these words to keep the story correct, because Egypt has some good land by those 7 rivers. But after killing so many people in Egypt, our Creator did, they ain't going to be welcome back there. So some of these commanders are just talking to talk. And then Caleb is just saying, hey, this land is still better than if we got into Egypt. We wouldn't get the prime land, you idiots. So, anyways, I do put my shoes or I put my feet into their sandals and try to really picture what's going on at that time. You have to do that. And the land is plentiful. I needed to add the word here because that's what's being mentioned above. So, and did not believe me, these commanders he's talking about, because he goes to Moses goes to YV and finds out what's going on here, and he tells them that the commanders don't believe me, is not the best word. They don't trust him. When our Creator is talking about, despite my signs, which weren't signs, they were plagues, and not performed, but parting the sea, they were witnesses of that. They didn't trust him when he said, you're going to go in and take that land. Not that they weren't going to believe him, they weren't trusting him. That's why they said, oh, it's big, back out, those guys are too big. Well, they didn't believe our Creator at that time. Our Creator is telling them the true word is they don't trust me. It's the better word of the two. And then I need to find, this usually means that I have to go down here to find the next part of this. So all this can be cut out and picks right up where it doesn't belong here. And this is actually, I should get cleaned up a little bit more. I think it's going to get divided like this. This goes up with the other one. And then this text goes with this. 1, 2, 3. And then 1, 2, 3. When I'm editing, I don't really see them all the time like that until I see them later. And when I just seen that, yes, that needed to be done here. So now it's correct. Now let me save that. Okay. And for their weakness, and that would have been, they're not trusting our Creator. It's their weakness. And then our Creator said he's going to pardon them. And here's the story about Caleb. The land he spied, his descendants will possess it. Now, again, if you notice, these are in 3 across. 3 across, a lot of them are. But these aren't. But the thing they are, this is the order of their birth, okay? The text, I said before, when you read it, it is so changed of words that when I was working on this, it wasn't making sense to me until I really looked at the map and when I was making it, and I realized that they camped around our Creator by the order of their birth. The one thing these editors and evil people editing the text today and even edited the manuscripts, they couldn't change this. They could not change the land they lived on. But when you see that 3 sons lived in one, and then 3 sons lived on a side, and 3 sons lived on a side, and 3 sons lived on another side, ta-da, there we go. We have the 3 sons here, these 3 sons here, and these would have been Levites, okay? And then we would have had 1, 2, 3 because Manasseh was split up. So these 2 are really kind of covering for the Levites. 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. And East Manasseh was covering for Joseph's being Joseph would have been the last born here. So that is how the correct order of the land gets. But here, this has to be Simon's because everybody knows it's Simon's. So that's why I had to edit the word Simon in before. And it's why Caleb was going to get the land that he spied, and his descendants will possess it. Okay. And if you watched all my videos in the future, you know I've said that before a couple times. Okay. The text here, you can see there's not much here and not much down here, but it actually is a 4-verse grouping. That's why I added these words here. the 4 verse, if I leave one of these verses or try to work on one of them that isn't correct, I had to completely add that because I needed I needed a 3 verse. Okay. Sorry. I needed a 3rd verse to go in here. So, yes, I needed to add these words here. And this is pretty much um, about him talking about them not trusting him. He's telling you will command them, they are to enter the land, for I promised it to their forefathers. And they know that they promised it to their forefathers. Okay. That they all know. They're all aware of Abraham, Isaac, and Joseph. They all know the stories all the way back. They're all told, passed on for hundreds of years, the truths that they were given by our Creator. Now, this is going to be, it's way out of order. Because the priests haven't been picked yet, okay? But here the argument is going to be brought up. Now, Korah and his brothers, and here, now, see the word Benjamin here? Now, why is Benjamin so small? Because this group is going to have the earth open up underneath them, and they're going to descend into the abyss. And this is the only part makes it reasonable to understand why Benjamin's was so small. The land given to him was so small. So the thing here is, it wasn't Reuben, because when you look at the size of Reuben given, it's quite large. So the thing here is, why is Benjamin so small? Well, if the earth is going to swallow up a lot of people, and it's like they got 250 leaders and the congregation. I don't need any of that. I'm just going to have it put down here that there was a lot of them, that they were from Benjamin. That's why the group is so small today when they passed out the land for inheritance. Because they were complaining that Moses chose Aaron and choosing for him for the tribes. But the thing here, to be priest, we'll be holy. We're going to be priests and we'll be holy. They're actually fighting against our Creator. And I'm using the word priest here because I'm going to take you down to where, yes, because they're talking about here, also seeking the priesthood. You are seeking the priesthood. So it means that Levites were already chosen, and they are resisting that. They're against our Creator. And Moses here is going to now reply and argue, why are you doing this? I don't see anything too difficult. I'm using the word ministers over here instead of at the end. It just reads better. To be against YV, you are grumbling against him. So Moses is pointing out that you are. Then he's going to tell him, everybody to meet tomorrow before YV. So at his gates, you have to understand that at this time was before they traveled for the spies. So this story is way before the spies. Okay, this is in the Sinai yet, when they camped for those 2 years, maybe 3 years. And I had to add, his cloud appeared. It says YV appeared, but the thing here is he was showing himself as a cloud coming down to the tent after Moses had went to meet with him. He would go into the tent for meeting with him, and our Creator's cloud would come down. That's how he appeared. Exodus tells the people when they seen him walking, they all start paying attention, and then when the cloud come down, they would bow to worship our Creator. That they knew he was there, his presence was there. So now, he's going to judge them not instantly, but now. And this is, like I said, the story is going to be Korah, Abram, and all their men. Now we know that I couldn't put it to keep the thing, all their men and their, wife and children, which that's the way they would have argued to represent themselves. Then our Creator tells them Moses tells them to separate from themselves, depart. I don't like the word depart, but separate them. And they aren't just wicked. To be against our Creator is evil. Wickedness is being just bad, but evil, the word will always mean against our Creator. You're just rejecting our Creator. And be judged like them. So I got to use the word not swept like them, because to be swept, that's knowing the story. Up here, our Creator, I had to use not the word consume, because that's from the story down there. I used the word judge here, and then judged here like them. And then down here, they were with their wives and children. Okay, now you got that part. But, okay, and judge them. And then the ground opened beneath them and swallowed them, and they descended into Sheol here. I had to add the word beneath them, ground open, beneath them, to swallow them, and the descendants into the abyss. Sheol is in the word abyss in the text. There's two of them. It's almost like when you read all the verses for Sheol, it's like a city inside the abyss. But that's not true. In the description below is a video called Afterlife. When you go and do what I say in the afterlife, males can actually visit the abyss, know they have a soul, and they can have proof by talking to those that once lived on earth that there is afterlife. And that is known as the abyss. Our Creator defined the word abyss by Abel calling to him from the abyss, okay, which was from beneath the ground, okay. Our Creator couldn't really teach them that it was another dimension of space and time, okay. They understood what they could see, and they couldn't see underneath the earth. But when the earth, that's where they were saying that they buried their dead, that they were still alive, but they were in Sheol underneath. Israel, when Jacob was gone, he said, I will descend into the abyss, and they also used the word Sheol, both of them. I didn't like spurning. They rejected him is a more correct word. Now let me see if I can get away with showing that here. Let's see if I did real good here on that word. 1630. This would be 30. Spurned. Rejects once. So, yeah, okay. I'm safe by using that, and you can't complain. I'm just trying to say there's sometimes you can't complain about me just doing words. And this one was, thought that would be one word, or I thought it would be more than that actually. But as you can see, I didn't go searching ahead of time. I've done this so many years that I'm spotting words that I know that I'm going to go check more just to see uh, how they did it at. Just remember, no, that was in the last video. You know, I should also make this as a pop-up so I don't have to look for this all the time. Here's what I've been showing from time to time. This word which is used this way all these times in the red. How do you get that from the word which? Right here, pronoun, which, what, but then here the word so, which is actually this Hebrew word, it's actually used 7 times here. So don't ever tell anybody anymore that the Bible is perfect. That you just don't understand what you're talking about. Be more truthful. Now these I needed to add because the format is a 4-verse format. And there's a lot of text that's kind of missing between here, what needed to be done, because now is when the priests are going to be selected. What tribe is going to be from the priests, for the priest. So he has to gather together the tribe's leaders, and then he said to them, and then say to them, I command the tribe's leaders to get not a rod, but a stick. A rod is something that they use to smack their kids around with, okay? Or their children when they're wrong. But a stick is a little bit different because they're in the Sinai, and actually the stick is an almond stick, okay? That I will show you where I got that word later, because the stick, see, I've got it budding and blooming, but that still needs to be seen below. Ta-da, there it is, produce blossoms. So the only one out there is, in the desert, is an almond tree, okay? So not only did I have to add those words, I need to change those words. And it's a stick. And then on the 12 almond sticks, carve, not write, but carve. The word is, you're talking about a stick. So now you have to carve a stick. And he's doing it probably right in front of them, their name on the stick. And then they are to not deposit, gotta be, because sometimes, yes, the word one time it'll be used only that way. And deposit. And you can see over here, I use the word place down here. Okay, placed. Okay, and they got deposit. Where's deposit? They use deposit 4 times. So that word, again, I can replace, and you can't complain, okay? So I will make that now green in case people check. Now the word testimony is actually the chest. The testimony is the 12 commandments. Freaked you out. I said 12. They're there. Okay, 12 commandments. Take a quick snapshot. Okay, 12 commandments. And they were kept in the chest, not the ark, the chest. Let's call it what it is. Let's call a boat a boat. Okay, let's not make up words and then tell everybody that you don't know what you're talking about. It's an ark. No, I'm telling you the truth. They're using trickery of words against you. Um, and then, like I said, adding these here is because the text below, you're having just to add the almastek, that's just to fill in, but it's using the correct word. And they placed, again, here's the other time they used the word deposit. So the word is placed the sticks before YV in his tent's room. Needed to add the word room because this is his meeting room. I couldn't put meeting room in here. Tent's room. So I made it his tent's room. And then the next day Moses went in the tent of the testimony. No, that's not, this is wrong. It is his room. And I just explained what the testimony is. So it's a tent of the testimony. No, they were in the chest. So the thing here is it can't be. This is absolutely untruthful. Now this is a note to me showing me that it was 4 verse, and then this changed to 3 verse. When I'm doing these, I kept trying to cram them together and to stay with it. And then I just say, hey, no, it's breaking to be 3 verse now instead of 4 verse. So these are notes to myself here. And sprouted leaves, buds, and almonds, because if it didn't sprout leaves, it can't be sprouting the buds and otherwise. And your brothers. Now, he's telling them, he's defining what the priesthood is, kind of, but this is just parts of it. Now they are to minister before him in the court. Not see here, they're going to call sanctuary. There's no sanctuary. It's about atoning for your sin and how they were doing it, what it takes to be forgiven. They have to lose something that's important to them, which was food. Okay? When they remove the muscles, that's the action of the sin. When it was put on the altar and burnt away, it shows that it was disappearing. When the person standing outside watched it disappear, okay? The smoke disappeared. It was forgiven, hopefully, until they went into the meeting room and then discussed it with our Creator. He either accepted it or didn't accept. But they also have to have attendants to serve with them, and not just their sons. We're talking about the priest here, and they need attendants as well as the priest. They need to butcher the animal. Somebody's got to take care of that refuge that's laid there. That's got to be taken out way away from the tent and burnt someplace else. They have a plate. They have to put it on the plate. They have to take it in there. There's a place for the priest to wash his hands. So the attendant is there to do the other things on there, okay, on the altar as well. So the attendants are very important. They need to be put into the text. So just don't think there's 13 people or 13 men working in the tent. There is more, and they're the attendants there. But the story won't tell you that they too have to be anointed to be in there. But the thing here is they have to have attendance. Okay. It just doesn't make sense without attendance. I mean, I know somebody would probably, if they ever read the text, maybe they already thought, well, where's the people to help them? Well, there, I'm adding to make sure that, yes, I agreed with you that you were sharp enough to spot that out. So, not bear, but they are to bear the guilt and connection. No, the thing here is there's no guilt in there. They were anointed and they were supposed to obey exactly the 12. These are the men and their families who are most dedicated to our Creator. That's why they were made up their synagogues and had jobs outside just here. they also become judges of the refuge cities. They become probably the accountants. These are more learned people. They are the scribes. Okay. So just to let you know that they don't bear guilt, but they're to wear robes. Okay. Connection. This is just absolutely untruthful. These robes were told to be made in another book. So the thing here is the robes. Because should I just added this in as a verse and put it down here as that I added all these words? Possibly. I guess I could have. Maybe should have, but I didn't. So now you're hearing me. Yes, I agree with you if you thought that was before you come and watch the video. But still, there's a lot of verses that I need to, because the priesthood is describing the robes, okay? And to bear is to wear the robes for the priesthood. But the guilt and connection, no, this is the most lying words in this verse. So if I got rid of them, then I'm trying to make sense out of the rest of them. Now you know my thought process and how I do these. Not will attend, but will serve or minister, but they're going to serve him. Way too long. Got to go.